Hi everyone, my name is Kaustubh and I'm a sales professional turned data scientist, and I've been teaching data science for the past 3 or more years now. So this is the first of many videos where I'll be first talking about Power BI and its impact on data visualization, how to do data visualization with Power BI. Um, the concepts for data visualization remains the same, even if you use any other tools like Tableau or Looker or ClickSense, any other tool, it doesn't matter. So I'll be focusing on Power BI, and in this video we will be talking about some of the very basic stuff in Power BI. For example, how to load data, after loading your data, how to do some preliminary transformations to your data, how to merge columns, how to rename whatever steps you have performed so that it is intuitive and anyone who comes and visits your Power BI file knows exactly what you are doing. And we'll also talk about how a merge in the transform ribbon and a merge in the add column ribbon differ from each other, right? So these are some of the very basic concepts. We'll start with this and we will keep building on these topics as and when we go forward. Okay, so the first step is we have to load our data. So in order to do that, we have to click on get data here. And there are a lot of sources from where we can extract data. So I'll be using a CSV file. So I'm clicking on text CSV, and I have this customer lookup data set with me. So it's a CSV file. I'll just double click on this and this will open up a pop-up for me, right? So this is the pop-up. It talks about the origin, the delimiter, it's a comma delimited file, and how many rows we are viewing. So it's based on the first 200 rows. It is telling us what it sees. So what we do is we just click on transform data, and this opens up the Power Query for us. This is the Power Query view, right? Now there are some codes already being shown here. We don't need to know this code as of now. It's absolutely fine even if we don't need to know this code. All we have to know is how to work with these different ribbons. So first things first, look at the data, always be aware of what the data is, what the data set looks like. So if you see here, this is, or these are my column names, but it's not being shown as column names. It's being shown as a row. Look at the column names here. The column names are column 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And this is how the data set looks like. So the very first thing that we have to do is we have to convert these rows, this row or these columns into, or we have to convert these into the column names, right? So how do we do it? All we have to do is use first row as headers. So when I click on this, look at this, it promoted the first row as the headers or the column names, right? So that is the first step. Okay, now since we have our data set in a proper format, now the first things first, we will rename the data set as a customer lookup table, right? So once we do it here, you can see that the name changed here as well. Okay, third is we have to look at the data types. Very, very important when we are doing data visualization. The type of data that we have matters a lot, because the type of data will decide what kind of visualization we are coming up with. So customer key, it's being shown as a text column. Now this is a decision you as a data scientist or a data analyst or a visualization engineer have to take. You have to decide whether you want to keep the key column as text or you want to convert it into a whole number. All you have to do is click on here and you can change the data type from here. There are other ways of changing the data type. We'll talk about it, but let's talk about how to change data type from here. Now, if the end goal of this customer key is only to provide identification to each of these rows, we can keep it as a text because we are not going to do any sort of aggregation on it. We are not going to calculate the sum, we are not going to calculate the average or the median or min or max. So as long as you are not aggregating the column, it's fine. We can keep it as a numerical column. Next is the prefix being showed as a text, name, full name, last name being shown as a text. It's absolutely fine. Birth date is being shown as a text. Again, we'll have to change it to a date, right? The moment I do this, it's been converted. Look at this, it shifted towards the right, and we have birth date as the date column. Marital status, gender, email address, annual income being shown as text. Again, we have to change this. All we have to do is convert it into a currency, right? Fixed decimal number, so that's a currency. Okay, and by default, it is up to 2 decimal places. Total children, again, it's being shown as a text. We need total children as whole number. Okay, next is education level, text, occupation, text, homeowner, text. That's fine. Okay, so this is how we change data types. And step number 3, very, very important, changing data types. We have to know our data. In order to know our data, we have to know the data types because the data types are gonna dictate the kind of visualizations that we can come up with. Okay, so we can now look at this. Whatever changes we are making here, it's all being recorded, right? So the first thing I did was I promoted the header. So when I click on this, look at this. All the changes I made to the data types, everything has been reverted, right? Because I'm in step number 1 here. Okay, so I can always rename this. I can right click on this, rename, and I can say change first row to columns. I can do that, right? The naming should be intuitive. Change type. So I can say here, changed data types of numerical and date columns. Okay, it need not be as long as I have done here. It can be short and intuitive. Okay, so we talked about how to load data, what to do with the data when we first load it, for example, changing the first rows as headers. We also looked at how to change the data types. Now, let's look at the data. Let's now do a little deep dive into it. If you see here, the prefix, first name, last name, these are all uppercases. Right? Doesn't look nice, right? This is not how we represent names. Name should have the first letter in uppercase, and all the other letters should be in lowercase. So how do we do that? And it's very simple. In order to do this, all we have to do is click on this column, go to transform, and in transform you see that there is a separate section here for text columns. This is a text column, so we can do different transformations here for the text column. Now all we want to do right now is we want to change the case. So all I have to do is go to format, click on here, look at this, lowercase, uppercase, capitalize each word, trim, clean. Now all I have to do is capitalize each word. That's what I want to do. I want to capitalize the first letter of each word. Look at this, it changed, right? Similarly, I can do it for last name as well. And if you want to do it simultaneously for both the columns, let me just show it to you how to do it. I'll delete the step. All I have to do is press on this, click on this column, shift, click here, and I can do it for this as well. Okay, let's first do it for this. So at a time we can select 2 with shift, and if you want more you have to do a control, right? Let me show it to you again. So if I'm clicking on first on prefix, control, first name, and control press last name, right? So I have three of the columns selected. All I now have to do is capitalize each word, right? This is what we did. Again, I can rename it and I can say capitalized prefix first name last name. Okay, now so we talked about converting the name case. Next is, and this is the last thing that we are going to discuss in this video. So if you see here, there's a transform and there's an add column here. So what is the difference between them? And if you see, most of the transformations that add column and transform have, they're quite similar. Now what would happen is transform transforms a column in itself. It is not going to add a new column. For example, I have first name and last name, and I want a new column called as full name. Now I will not be able to get a new column or add a new column using the transform. If I select first name and last name and I merge columns here, look at this, I have a merge columns here. So this concatenates the currently selected columns into one column. So if I do this, and the separator is space, I want a space between my first name and last name, and I want this as the name of the column should be full name. Look at this, what happens? Look at this. My first name and last name is gone. The columns are gone. It has been combined into a full name column. Right? So this is not what I want. I want a new column with both the first and the last names. So what I do, I go to add column. I select both the columns here, first name and last name. Here as well we have a merge columns. Exactly the same function. Right? Exactly the same function. I want a space and I want to call it full name. And if I scroll towards the right, look at this. I have a full name column with both the first and last names together. This is the difference between a transform ribbon and an add column ribbon. We will be discussing more of these functions in the Power Query in my upcoming videos. For now, this is all I have. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.